Hello Sunnyside, welcome back to your music lesson. Hope you've had a really good week. I've loved seeing all the work you've been putting up on Dojo. I think it's absolutely fantastic. You're all working so hard. Right, let's get started, shall we? Now, let's have a recap from last week. Who can remember what we learned last week and what key vocabulary did we use? Right, you might want to pause the video just for a minute, just to think back to last week. What did we think of? That's right, we were thinking about the lengths of beats and lengths of notes. And our key vocabulary included 2 new notes that we learnt. We learnt about the crotchets and the quavers. Okay? And if you remember, the crotchet was worth 1 beat, and our quaver, can you remember? Our quaver was worth half a beat. So we've got our crotchet, which was worth 1, and our quaver, which you could have 2 beats in the same space of time. Now, for today's lesson, we are going to be learning a few new names of the notes, and we are also going to start learning the actual names of those notes. Okay? So before we move on to that, let's learn a few more names of notes. Okay? We have got our minim. Can you say minim? Minim. 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 Lovely. And our minim is worth 2 beats. So if we're playing that, that'll be 1, 2. We have our semi-breeze. Now a semi-breeze, that's a whole 4 notes. So a whole 4 beats, sorry. So if we've got 4 beats in a bar, we would have one of these to fill out that entire bar. Okay? So our semi-breeze, 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 semi-breeze lasts 4 notes. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. But we don't always want to be playing music. Sometimes you need to have a bit of a break. So when we want to have a break, we have that squiggly thing called a crotchet rest. Now that, we know a crotchet is worth how many beats? That's right, 1 beat. So, can you guess what you do when you have a crotchet rest? That's right, you have a rest for 1 beat. So, if we were playing crotchets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we want to introduce some rest, which can add different rhythm to the music, we could play 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, rest. Still with me? Great. So, a few more names of notes and rests that we can include in our musical vocabulary, and when we're coming to writing music, which is what we're going to be doing in a week's time, we can start to include some of these. Now don't worry if you can't remember all the names right now. I'm going to put them all up on Class Dojo. I'm going to put all the pictures so you can practice drawing them, you can practice writing the music, and you can practice clapping out the beats, or if you've got any instruments at home, if you've got drums, you could. If you've got guitars, or whatever you want. Even if you've got an old bucket or some pans, you can beat those. Okay? So, moving on to what I want to talk about today, we're going to have a go at learning how to actually write music. Now, this is what we write music on. It's called a stave. 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 So stave is basically the lines that we write our music on, and just like in a book you read from left to right, you would read from left to right on here. Now this squiggly thing is called a treble clef. We don't need to know much about that at the moment, we are going to come on to it later, but for now, don't worry too much about that, but that's called a treble clef. Okay? Now you'll see from this one, again I'll put all these on Dojo so you can have a look. I'll hold it up to the camera. You can see that some of the notes are sat on the lines and some are sat between the lines. And each note has a different name, has a different letter attached to it. So you can see here we've got, starting on this bottom line, we start with an E, and then the next line is a G, next line is a B, then D and E. And then the ones that sit between the lines is F, A, C and E. Now when we talk about musical notes, we only go from A to G, and then you start back at A again. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and then it goes again. B, C, D, E, up to another A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and another A. It just keeps going on and on and on. Okay? So here we start, don't worry too much about this one because that has a few notes above and below the stave. We're just focusing on the notes between and on the lines. So you'll see here, it goes E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E and F. Okay? But we need to be able to remember what those notes are and where they should be on the stave. So what I would like you to have a go at is creating your own acronym. Now an acronym is, you create a word for each of these letters. So for example, I've done one here for all of the notes which are sat on the line. So we've got E, G, B, D and F. So I've put every good boy deserves fruit. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is have a go at creating your own acronym for all of these notes. You can do it in two separate ones, or you can do one really long one if you want for all of the notes. But create your acronym for E, G, B, D and F, and F, A, C, E. Okay? Once you've done those, if you want to upload them to Dojo, I'd love to see them. Now I've got one last piece of work for you to do. Last week I used this instrument here to play some music on. Hold it up for you to see. I would love you to go away, do some research, ask family or friends, or go online, but don't forget to use your e-safety knowledge that we talk about. I would like you to find out what type of instrument is this. Okay, have a good look at it. It's shiny. What do you think it might be made out of? Okay, see if you can find out what type of instrument it is and what family of instruments it belongs to. Okay, and for an extra proud pound point, how do you play it? See if you can make the right shape with your lips. How do you think you play this? Do you just blow? How do you think you make a correct sound with this instrument? Okay, so I look forward to seeing all your answers and all your work that you can upload for me, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.